I think they'd be a little bit more hesitant to throw it around so so much, because they really do. They overuse the term. And not everything is a demon. It's just not. Not everything is possession. You can't walk into a building and, use a Ouija board and then you're possessed. It doesn't work like that. It's not that quick. There's a process that happens. There are different degrees of it, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen, that quickly. It just doesn't. I mean, you can be oppressed, you can be followed, you can be tormented and just picked on by these things. But possession's an entirely different. It's a different thing. And what I'm trying to do is to shed some light on it so that people will talk about it more, but not in a way that they do now. Not because they saw it on a movie or, last week's big paranormal show. I think that it's not taken very seriously. And I'm not trying to convince people that it's real. I'm not trying to convince people who don't believe or who think that demons aren't real, or that, it's a man-made construct, or it's just it's a real thing, or, or that just don't believe at all. I don't want to convince people. That's not what I'm trying to do. I am trying to get people to talk about it, because whether you believe or not, that doesn't change the reality of it. Whether a person believes that it happened to me, that doesn't change what happened to me. Right. And, that's what I'm trying to do, is just to kind of educate people a little more, so that maybe they're not, to try to change their view on what it's about, because I think largely we've kind of lost that in the field, and helping people has kind of gone to the wayside a bit. And this isn't about me trying to gain a following or get any kind of attention. I just really want people to maybe get some insight as to what it's like. I don't want anyone to ever understand what it's like, but at the same time, if people could, relate on some level, they may have someone who has gone through it or is going through it. They may be going through it themselves. It could help somebody. I don't know. You never know. There could be answers that I find through doing this that I need. So that's sort of the foundation of why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why I went public with all this, and why, I chose to write the book. None of these things were easy decisions to make. And, they have also, doing those things has also affected my life. It hasn't been just the affliction, possession, not just that, but choosing to do these things as well has had an impact on my life, not necessarily in a positive light, but I've chose to do it and to stick to it because it's important to me, and it sort of gives this a purpose, I guess. If you're gonna, it gives me something to look at and say, I can maybe create something positive from what's happened so far.
Well, I know that one of the things that struck with me was when you were saying about basically the demon of the week. Yeah. We hear that every week on TV, that it's a demon, it's a demon, it's a demon, and, and a lot of these places that these TV shows go, a lot of us have been, and we're sitting there going, what in the heck are they talking about? There's no demon there. So,
exactly.
So I want everybody to get ready for a break, go get a drink, come back. We're all gonna take a little break here. Come back to us and visit us here at wbhm-db out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
You are listening to wbhm Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm just so glad you guys got to miss the more phone calls from the local people trying to get us to vote for tomorrow. So I want everybody tomorrow, go out there and vote. If you haven't voted yet, you need to do it. And if you're a Democrat, vote somewhere else. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Democrats vote on Friday because they can party after.
Right, that's right.
No, I'm sorry.
If I offended anyone, it's too bad.
Ron says if he offended anyone, he doesn't care. But me, on the other hand, I do care. I don't want to offend anyone. The opinions stated here are those of Ron Pridemore, not of Denise Pridemore and wbhm-db out of Birmingham, Alabama. Disclaimer. No, everybody, please vote. If you don't vote, don't complain. That's all. So I'm here with Cindy Sauer. We are talking about all kinds of wonderful things that she needs us to know so it doesn't maybe happen to us, about being possessed, about demons, things that happened to her that, first of all, are amazing, that first of all that she survived it. Second of all, that it happened, because a lot of people don't believe that possession happens. If they don't see it, it doesn't happen. They can't believe that God lets that happen to people. Things like that. Cindy, do you suffer from PTSD?
Yeah, I actually do. Yes, absolutely. PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, intermittent depression. Yes, I do.
Did you suffer from that prior to being possessed, or is that a result of?
I had a few bouts of, depression and things, throughout my life here and there, but nothing like I did after. So no, the PTSD, the severe anxiety and panic did happen after the first, during and after the first exorcism is when it really started to surface. So it's, and that brings me to another facet of this entire thing is the fact that people don't really realize that with this affliction, and I call it that because, it kind of encompasses the entire thing. It's there's a lot more that goes into it than what people think. People think of possession. They think of, things like this, and they're envisioning a person, their body being completely taken over, and this person has completely checked out or is gone or is just not present. And it's not that way. You have, and for me, I can only speak for me. I had moments where my body was taken over, and I was not able to control it. I called those attacks. I really didn't have a better word for them. A lot of the time, you're not in that sort of state. You're conscious and you're lucid, but these things are still around. They may be talking to you. They may be inside your head, putting mental images in your head. They may be altering your emotions, altering your mental state. It's not just a physical thing. It's very physical, but it is also mental and emotional and spiritual, and it hits you on every single level, on every part of you that makes up you. They're able to infiltrate every single part of you. There's not a space in you that's off limits, which is really disconcerting. And I went to church my whole life. I grew up in church, and when I was married, I went to church, and I believed. I was very much a believer. I still am. But my faith was strong, and I lived a Christian life. I was baptized. These are all things that went against every rule that many people equate with possession or with not being possessed. So it was very confusing that this could happen. And it wasn't just myself that felt it was confusing. It was other people as well who thought that they were educated on the subject, on what was going on, that were like, there's no way this could happen because of her past and because of, where she's at and that it didn't make any sense. So there were certain rules that were not followed by these things that people thought should have been followed. So it's, to them, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is or what your religious affiliation is or what denomination you are, or if you're atheist or agnostic or whatever it is that you believe is really of no consequence to them. Now it does make it harder if you have strong faith, not to say that it's not impossible, because if a priest can walk into an exorcism and take precautions because he's worried that one of these things will latch onto him, then if you think about it that way, then who's off limits? Because he has enough faith and is devout enough to walk in and perform an exorcism, then why is he so worried that it could happen to him as well? It doesn't matter if, there are people who are devil worshipers and who go through these rituals and are Satanists who never get possessed. So why do they not get possessed? You know, there's no rhyme